Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chuck the UI Tech interview round. So in this episode, we are going to talk about this, one of the toughest questions in interview that comes in the front end. So most of the people get rejected whenever it comes to this. They don't understand like, oh, this will point to what? Object, window, undefined, what the hell is this? Then complexity comes when we talk about call, apply, bind. So in this video, I am going to fall you in love with this. Trust me, till the end of this video, watch this video till the end. You will fall in love with this, with the love story of this. So we'll see what this basically is going to do in all those characters. So we will have crush, we will have bewafa, girlfriend, we will have boyfriend. We have multiple boyfriends basically in this story, and you are going to fall in love with the concept of this. And trust me, you will never ever get rejected once you have watched this video till the end. With that, let's get started. So whenever we talk about this, in JavaScript, the toughest part of this is basically it behaves differently. When we say it behaves differently, it says that I will behave differently in a strict mode and I will behave differently in a non-strict mode. So there is a distinction, there is a problem, there is a challenges. So there is something called strict mode, there is something called non-strict mode, their behavior and whatnot. We are going to touch upon everything, and watch till the end, because we are going to also touch upon the arrow function, how it works in arrow function, global context, and much more. With that, let's start diving. So let's understand few of the character basically before we get started diving into more things inside this. So the first character basically that we have is called crush. When we call crush, please remember your crush in this realm is going to be your window object. Please remember your bewafa gf is nothing, a function who is calling a function call which is internally having a reference to the this. That is what a function bewafa girlfriend is basically. It's a function. It's a normal function which internally is consuming somewhere this, right? Now, what is this bf? So bf is basically any object. Any of the object basically. This can be object 1, this can be object 2, any of the object in general. So if you remember these stuff, whenever we are talking about crush, we are mostly talking about window object. Whenever we are talking about bewafa girlfriend, we are talking about a function which is going to be executed. Whenever we say bf, we are talking about object. It may be bf1, bf2. We are talking in respect to object only. Perfect. So if we understand these synonyms basically that we are going to use in the entire video, now your life is going to be very easy, very simple. And we will get started with that. Before that, let me also create a small distinction, which is non-strict mode and strict mode. So which will help you to basically remember this entire love story in a very easy go. Once we are done till the end. Okay, so something like this. So we'll talk about something is in a strict mode, something in a non-strict mode. Maybe I can make it better. It looks so ugly. Okay, I think that's a better one. Okay, cool. So with that, let's start with the love story of bewafa girlfriend. So this is entire love story of a bewafa girlfriend. So let's understand. So whenever we call this, which is console.log in a global space. When I say global space, when nothing is there, like at the root itself, you are saying I am trying to access this. Now, remember always one simple concept, one simple thing. Your this is always going to point to an object or undefined. In the entire story, you have to always remember your this is going to point to an object or undefined. Now, your crush is also an object, which I will tell you in short, easily. Perfect. So let's jump into this and keep seeing what we will get as an outcome. So we are talking about console.log this. Now, one simple thumb rule again, we will understand. The funda over here is whenever you are actually in a global scope and you are trying to access this, it will always be your window object, which is your crush. It is always be going to your window object, which is your crush, which is your window object, because you are setting it a global scope and you are basically trying to access it. Now, let's try to understand from another example, a very simple, easy example that we are going to understand. So when called from a function, when you are actually calling a function and you wanted to see what is the value of this, now you have to remember one simple thumb rule. In global scope, it is always going to point to window, which is your crush. Now the interesting story starts. If you understand this story, your life is sorted. So there is a bewafa girlfriend, right? How that works basically. If there is a boyfriend, if there is a boyfriend, someone along with that particular girlfriend, then whenever it is asked, what is the value of this? It is always going to point to, or your girlfriend is always going to talk about the boyfriend which is along with her. Simple. The boyfriend which is along with her, your girlfriend is going to take the name of that person. If there is no object or no boyfriend along with this particular function or your girlfriend, right, then she is basically going to call out other stuff. Now let's understand quickly one simple thing. We created a function. As we said, in the entire story, wherever you see a function, that's a girlfriend. In the entire story, wherever you see like there is a function, it means we are talking about a girlfriend. Now inside this function we are calling console.log. There is a this being accessed, console.log this. We are calling this girlfriend with respect to what? Guys, there is a hidden thing. You call directly or you call something like window.gf function. Both are same. There is no difference. These both guys are same. It's just that anything that you define at a root level, any function, by default, it comes with the window. So either you write in this fashion or this fashion, both actually are interpreted as the same thing. Now, help me with one thing. With the logic which we have said, if you have any boyfriend along with you, you are going to take the name of that boyfriend. Or in case you don't have anyone along with you, you are going to name your crush. Simple. If you have anyone along with you, you are going to name that boyfriend. If you don't have name, you are going to take a crush. Let's see that. We are going to execute this. So guys, the first thing first, if we see in this case, do you have any boyfriend along with you? If you have, then you are going to name that particular boyfriend, which is an object. If you don't have any boyfriend, you are going to always say crush. So in this case, say suppose you have, your favorite actor over here. So if there is no boyfriend, BF1 or BF2 along with your bewafa girlfriend, then she's going to shout out the name of crush. Let's see if she's actually going to shout out the name of crush. So we will check GF function, execute it. You see, your GF is pointing to crush in case there is no boyfriend along with it, right? If there was no boyfriend, it actually shouted the crush name. Now, in case we have a boyfriend along with that, which is itself a window object, which is a crush, if you execute it, then itself is going to be a window object. Chalo. Now, till now, the story is very simple, very simple. If I have to just list it down. So one simple thing, if BF is present, mention, or you can say return BF, or you can say output, or crush, which is your window object. Perfect. If your boyfriend is present, you will name the boyfriend name. If your boyfriend is not present, you are going to name the crush name. Let's take with another example where we can see actually there is a boyfriend. Okay, why not? So we have another called with respect to BF, or I can say called with in this case with respect to crush. So there was nothing, no boyfriend present, hence she was pointing to crush. Now there is a boyfriend which is present. Let's see. So we have BF object. As I always mention, wherever you see any object, we are going to consider as an BF. So we have a BF object because this is always going to point to any object, or it is going to point to undefined. Cool. So we'll just note it down. We are going to double check all of these things which are basically talking about. Perfect. In this case, you have BF object. You have a function which is defined inside this object. You are calling this function. Note, you are calling this function with respect to a object, which is your BF. Your GF is actually along with your BF, or you can say a function is called with respect to an object. Any of the convention which you can understand well. A function which is called with respect to object, or a GF which is along with a BF. If it is being executed, what do you think? What is going to be the value of this? Think about it. It's going to be same boyfriend, which is BF1 object, whichever was along with it. Let's test it out. So we'll go over here, clean it up, execute it. You see, you got an Atul Jha, you have a age, you have a GF function, and that is what got executed, or that is what got printed. Why? Again, remember this, guys, very importantly. We will come to the important logic that we just talked about. If the BF, your boyfriend, object is basically present, then your girlfriend is going to point to that particular BF. Else, if it is not present, then it is going to point to your crush. So one simple funda that we learned. One simple funda that we learned. Perfect. Now I'm going to take you to the next level called with respect to window. So bypassing reference. What does it mean? What does it mean? In the same story, the same function that we had, I am going to make a small tweak. What is that tweak? I'm not going to call the girlfriend or a function with respect to the object or the boyfriend right away. No, I'm going to do a pass. So what I'm going to do, a pass, which means we will pass the reference of the GS function to a new variable. And then we are going to call that particular function again. So in this case, if you notice what we just simply did, we actually have this BF1 object. We have a GF function. We created a new reference, a new function reference we created. And with respect to this new function reference, we are going to call this function. So now, if you notice, tell me one thing, guys. Please take a pause. Let me know the answer in the comment, which is what is going to be the outcome over here. Come on, quick. What is going to be the outcome over here? Now, you have to understand one thing. One simple thumb rule that we have understood. Now, you have a GF over here. Irrespective of your girlfriend is, whichever reference it is being passed, how it is. Right now, at this moment, do you have any BF or the object along with that? Do you have any BF or the object along with that in the starting? Is this function called with respect to any object at this point? Forget about how reference created, what happened and what not. At this moment, does it have any object? No. Then we have learned this simple funda. If there is no BF or the object along with that, then it is going to point to what? It is going to point to your crush. In this case, it's going to be your window object. Let's see. Let's go test this out. If it is actually the case, we will execute this and you will see the one which is going to be logged, which is console.log, is this. This is what we got as an outcome. So this is was the first outcome. So we can comment it out. You can focus only on the last one. So you see only one console, not two console. Perfect. Okay, execute it. Now you will see when you executed this, it is pointing to your crush. Reason being, there was no BF or the object with respect to which this function is called. So I think first simple thumb rule is something which you understood, which is if the function is called with respect to object, it is going to name that particular object, else it is going to point to your crush. That's all. All sorted. That was first simple thumb rule that we learned. Now we are going to enhance our knowledge. What happens in case of the strict mode? What happens in case of the strict mode? What does it mean? Consider this entire story that we have written. This was in non-strict mode. So I will just mention this is in non. So I can mention in this fashion also. This entire story is in non-strict mode. Now, what will happen in a strict mode, guys? That's something interesting. Same thing. Nothing major will change, guys. Nothing major will change. In strict mode, what we generally do, we just simply write in the starting use strict, nothing else. Your file will start with in the starting, which is called use strict. That is what we do in a strict mode. It has its own pros and cons. You can always go and check what this strict mode is for, what it provides. You can always see the perks benefit basically which a strict mode provides, which is not the agenda of this particular video. Wanted to keep it short. Now you are in a strict mode, you are in a use strict mode. What are the things which are going to change? That's what we are going to see. So let's go back. So clean it up. Now we are going to understand a few things. When we run anything in the global scope, your global scope is always window object. I can always write in global scope, it points to your crush, which is your window, which is in both the cases, guys. In both the cases your outcome is going to be the same. In global scope, if you are, it is always going to talk about your final crush, which is your window object. Perfect. Now the story actually changes over here. Now let's see. We are in a strict mode. There is no one with respect to which we are going to call this particular guy. There is no one, there is no object, there is no bf basically with respect to which we are calling this. When we execute it, there is one simple thumb rule which is said: if you don't have a boyfriend along with you, you are not going to fall back to your crush. In strict mode, there is no fallback to crush. Either you come with your boyfriend or there is no crush. I am going to tell it is a undefined. Simple. If you have BF, well and good. If not, you are undefined. Let's check it out, guys. So in this particular case, we did not print the strict mode. Let me print that. So we'll say use strict. That is what I'm going to print, and basically print this. Now, if you execute this, guys, in a strict mode, the same guy which was pointing to the window object, it is no longer going to point to the window object because it is going to point to undefined because you did not came with any BF. So if there is no BF in a strict mode, then it is going to be undefined. As simple as. So this is going to be undefined without any BF. I think that is almost easy peasy sorted. Rest, the story remains the same, which is if you have BF, guys, which is very simple. In this case, if you see, if we execute this guy, and now you are executed with respect to a BF. You are executed with respect to a BF. Then what is going to happen? You will print the particular BF name, which is BF1 object. It is going to print that, nothing special. Now the same story, which is if in case, let me again print the basically strict mode. Let me get to the other object that we created. Okay, now we are going to print this guy where I'm not calling with respect to an object. We are calling without any BF. There is no object reference in the starting. There is no object reference in the starting. What we are going to do, if we execute it now, let's see what is going to be the outcome. It is, we are in a strict mode. Okay, so if you notice, we are getting called with respect to a window object. In this case, we are getting executed with respect to a window object. So it is going to point to your, in this case, it is going to point to your window object because by default it is getting called with respect to window object. That's a beauty. That's a beauty. Now I can show you a simple thing again. So let's run this small guy, which is take this object. Again, I will show you this simple thing. Use strict, point to the object, and execute this code once again so that we are on the same point. Again, the initially the one which we executed, it does not get executed with the strict mode, right? We are in a strict mode. Strict mode simply says that, again repeating that, if you don't come with BF, I am going to point to undefined. If you don't come with a BF, I am going to point to undefined. That is what it says. And hence, simple logic, if BF is present, well and good, I am going to point to BF, else I am not going to point to crush. I am going to point to undefined. I am going to point to undefined. Simple funda. If BF was present, your boyfriend was present, your outcome is going to be boyfriend. If not, it is going to be undefined. I hope this simple funda you understood, which is, again, if I have to quickly repeat one simple thing, watch this video again because this is going to help you like anything. I can keep it short, but I want you to feel this from the heart, this story, so that you never ever forget. So you have a simple, if you have to forget about the code, you have to remember now from a thumb rule. If something is executing in the global scope, it is always going to be a window object. One. Second, because we are talking about bewafa girlfriend, if you come along with your boyfriend, then your boyfriend name is going to be shout out. If not, your crush name is going to be shout out in your non-strict mode. In a strict mode, if you come with a boyfriend, which is an object, I am going to shout out the object name, your boyfriend name, else it is going to be undefined. You cannot fall back to your crush in this particular case. Awesome. Let's take this story to the next level where we understood about all of these things happening. Let's say we have, we don't have just one boyfriend. You have multiple boyfriend in this story. So example, if we have to talk about, you have boyfriend one, you have two objects. So we have two objects. which has some information about the GF. If we say, okay, this is what we have. So we have some boyfriend is in Rahul and another one is Amit. This guy is basically 30 years. This guy is actually 24 years. It has a Ola Auto. This guy has a Mercedes. Now, let's try out some of the interesting thing. Basically, we are going to learn another interesting thing. So we'll talk about call, apply, bind. So we'll learn these concepts basically in this. So we have object 1, object 2. If I call this object 1 dot gf function, if we execute this, maybe call with 2 argument which is expecting 1 and 2, we are passing this. Now help me with one thing. If we execute in this fashion, maybe we can create both the constant to avoid the confusion. If we call in this particular fashion, what do you think what is going to happen? Do you have a boyfriend present with a girlfriend? Do you have a boyfriend present with a girlfriend? If yes, then what is the name that girlfriend is going to basically shout out? What comes to your mind? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? The first thing basically comes to your mind is, oh, let me shout out obviously my boyfriend name. Let's try to execute this. If we execute this, you see you got the name of a Rahul. So it basically shouted Rahul object, Rahul BF, or you can say Rahul object. That is what we got. Now we are talking about a bewafa girlfriend. So I hope it can be vice versa. Sometimes boyfriend are not you can say trustworthy, and sometimes girlfriend are not loyal. Exactly that is going to happen in this particular case, which is you might have seen a photo where you are going with one boyfriend and you are actually having a reference to another boyfriend. That is what we basically do, right? Now in this case, exactly something similar which is going to happen. This same function, which is the same girlfriend who is along with the BF1, can be called with respect to a BF2. So you can actually call this with respect to BF2, which is a different object. So the first argument to this particular function, which is call, is always going to be your object reference. This, you call it undefined, you point it to any specific object. Some people write it this. Whatever you write it, it's a reference to the new context or the new reference of the BF basically we are going to talk about. And rest are other parameter which it was expecting. Like it was expecting AB, so we passed AB, whatever the values are. Now what do you think? What is going to be the outcome in this particular case? So you have two BFs. Earlier, although you are with in this particular case, although you are with BF1, but you are actually getting called with respect to BF2. Let's execute it. Now it says, hey, why not Amit? Young guy having a Mercedes. And obviously, you see, you changed your BF. You changed your BF. Although you were with BF1, you are actually now shouting out about BF2. So what this call basically helps, it helps you to change the object reference, or you can say to change the, you can say BF. It helps you to change the, you can say, or you can say ditch your boyfriend. That is what basically this call does. Now in simple word, if you have to understand, whenever you are actually a function and you want that function to be called with respect to any object, any specific object you wanted to pass as a reference, as a this, then you can actually execute with respect to call. Else, if you don't call it, you actually call directly with respect to an object, then it is always going to, this is going to point to that object. Now, when you actually wanted to change the object, you use the call in this particular case. Awesome. I hope you understand. Similarly, there is no fancy thing. Apply actually does the same thing. Apply does the exact same thing what this call does, which helps you to change your boyfriend and girlfriend, whatnot. Now in this case, what we do is just that syntactical sugar change. Instead of passing the argument as an 1, 2, you pass as an array of argument. So this function is going to accept 2 values, which is A and B. So you pass those values as an 1, 2. That is what basically we do. Now, I hope till now we understood basically one simple thumb rule also. So you can change BF using call or apply. That happens same, guys. Same happens in this case also. If you are in a strict mode, you wanted to change basically your BF, you can actually do that. So nothing fancy. So you can change your BF using call apply. That is what basically we do get. Now parents are very much surprised. Today the BF was BF1 Rahul. The next day it became Amit. The next day someone else will become. Now parents are very much bothered about, like, dude, how what will happen for my daughter and whatnot. Parent decided, dude, you live your life, you decide whichever you can say boyfriend you wanted to get married. Let me get married, so that irrespective of you are with your boyfriend, you are not with your boyfriend, you are always going to take the name of your boyfriend, which is going to be your husband eventually, right? So that is what parents basically decided. Now what can be achieved and how that relationships can be basically achieved in this particular case. So I'm going to simply do one simple thing over here, which is, let's try to understand. We are going to have this BF1 and you have a GF. We are going to bind this guy with respect to the same object, or it can be any object. Now what we are doing, we are getting married, this girlfriend, this girl, with respect to this object. We got it married. So we got it married with respect to a object or a BF. You got married with the object or the BF. That is what your bind does. What does it mean? From now onwards, if you are with your BF or your husband or not, you are always going to talk about your husband, which is this example exactly. So now if you see, there is no object, there is no some reference with respect to which you are called, but this function, this wife, is always going to talk about the name of the husband. That is what basically is going to be. So guys, take this in a fun fashion. Don't take in awkward situation. This is just for learning. Disclaimer, this is just for learning and fun, so that you never ever forget this love story basically, right? Now what we have to get it done, we have to just get it married. So we will just get this guy married, this girl married. So now the function is actually getting married. So if you see, you actually binded it. What you got a new function. Now this function, this GF, this wife, what we got, if you execute it, it is always going to take the name of the Rahul, because you got it married with the Rahul, which is object 1, irrespective of Rahul was present or Rahul was not present. So this is what your bind function does. Nothing fancy. Now, bind basically binds the function with respect to an object. Now this function is called anywhere, anywhere, right? If you are present with an object, you are not present with an object, whatever hell it is, you are always going to talk about your, you can say, husband in this particular case, because you got married. So bind helps you to get you married. Awesome. So I hope you understood, you enjoyed what we basically talked about. So I can simply say bind, get the GF married, you can say GF to BF. So in both the cases, it does the same thing, nothing change. So it both actually works on the same fashion. It helps you to get married with your BF. So GF, BF married, your happy life. You have now easy busy go. Now you can relax, guys. So it's a chill pill that we had. I hope your wife or any girl or the boy who is actually watching this don't mind the story that we have. So finally, you see, we have a crush, we had a bewafa girlfriend, we have a boyfriend, and you have a BF2. So people who are from the Bollywood, they know the love story, actual real love story, which you see on the screen. Don't worry about that. Let me take you some of the advanced level, guys. If you wanted to, if you are a fresher, you are early stage in the career, you can stick to this point and you can watch this video multiple times at this point. If you wanted to upskill your journey, right? I'm going to talk about some of the advanced concept. And if you can watch it, that will be awesome. And I want you, if you can cover everything in the advanced level, that will be awesome. So now in this entire story, there are few more concepts basically which I wanted to introduce, which is what will happen if your this is present inside, when this is present inside a sync method. What does it mean? What will happen when your this is present inside set timeout, set interval in such async fashion? If something is basically, or you can say in some callback, when your you can say async method, or basically you can say in your callback, both simply you can say. What will happen in such cases? Let's try to understand from a very simple dimple example. You have an object, obviously you have a, so now I am going to take, you can consider this is a boyfriend and this is a girlfriend basically that you have. But a story is basically you have an object, you have this value, you have a method which is defined. There is a set timeout which is written. Guys, there is a set timeout. Inside this set timeout, we are accessing this dot value. Inside set timeout, we are accessing this dot value. Now you have to understand what is going to happen, guys. You have to understand what is going to happen. We are calling this guy with respect to an object. What does it mean? At this level, your this will point to obj, which is correct. Reason? Because you are being called with respect to an object. Inside this regular method, your this is going to point to an object, which is awesome, which is 100% true. But the condition over here is you are having a async method, you are having a callback, and that callback is actually going to access this dot value. Will the value of this inside the set timeout is going to be the same what we expected? Let's check this out. No, it's not going to be. Let's understand one more important concept over here. So reload, print it. You see, it is going to point to undefined. What happened? What happened in this particular case? Maybe I will double check if we have any strict mode or not. Let's print it out. After some time, it actually pointed to something called undefined in this particular case. Why? What happened? What happened? So in this case, you have to understand if it is depends, guys. Most of the time when you execute your set timeout, you have to understand this is going to point to any one of these guys, any one of these. Ideally, in this case, we have to consider it is going to point to your crush or undefined. Crush or undefined, depending on strict mode, non-strict mode, you can always test this out, guys. What I meant by all your callback, remember, all your callback get executed with respect to a global scope. With respect to global scope, all your callbacks are getting executed. So callbacks, I can simply mention over here, callback get executed, async callback, probably I can say async callback get executed with respect to global object. So that is one you have to basically remember always. So which is going to be same, is just that when you know when you are in a global scope, it is going to point to your crush or it is going to point to your, so in this case it is going to point to crush, and in this case it is going to point to undefined. So your outcome is going to be crush or undefined. That is what you have to simply remember. A very simple, easy busy thing that you have to remember. Now this is good. This entire story is good. Now what will happen? What will happen if we use arrow function? Will the arrow function change any story over here? Will arrow function introduce something new and crazy over here? We'll try to understand. We'll try to understand what this arrow function basically introduced. Using arrow function in the same method that we have. Using arrow function in the same story, guys. Let's try to understand. So we have same object. We are just having, we have a regular method, we have an arrow method, which means inside set timeout, wherever you are having this callback, we are having an arrow function. We did not have a normal function, we have an arrow function. When we execute with respect to regular method and when we execute with respect to arrow method, you have a, obviously you are inside an object, you are getting called. Then your, this inside your async callback is going to point to what is something which is interesting. So again, remember guys, arrow function, I will tell you one thing which you will always remember. Arrow function helps you to get a child marriage. What does that mean? Remember this. Arrow functions helps to get the child marriage done, which means at the time of creation itself, it binds with the object or the BF or the husband, not at the time of execution. At the time of creation itself, this binding of your husband actually happens, which is a child marriage basically. Now, let's do it. When you execute it, your regular method will say, I don't know I don't know. Regular method will basically say, I don't know what is this, because I am a regular method and at a global level itself, I am getting executed and hence my outcome is this. But in other case, we see I am in an arrow function. So I am in an arrow function at the time of creation, of this particular callback. What was the value of this? Because it was called with respect to object, and when this set timeout got executed and the callback got executed, created basically, at that time arrow, because of the arrow function, it actually started pointing to an object, and hence this dot value, which is this dot value, is 42 in this particular case. Just remember simple thing which is going to be same in both the case, which is arrow function get the child marriage done. So refer to BF at the time of creation. Refer to an object, you can say refer to a BF, whatever terminology you basically feel it easy to understand, just go with that. So in simple, it does not wait for the execution, it actually does this binding at the time of creation itself. When this callback get created at the time of creation, not execution, at the time of this creation itself, basically it decide I am going to point to whom, right? That is what basically it does. Interesting. Now let me take a very simple example of an same arrow object which you can always remember and you will never ever forget in this particular case. So I am going to have simple two methods which will help, simple two object which will help you to understand this journey very easy. So you have an object one, you are going to print with the normal function, you create a normal inner function which is normal function. This is the normal function. When you write something called console.log, or probably you have a console already, you say obj2.print. Guys, let me know in the comment what do you think, what is going to be the outcome. So your function, inner function, is going to be created with respect to a normal function. It's a normal inner function which is getting created. Now this function is going to be executed with respect to what, like where it is going to execute, what is going to be the outcome. Please let me know in the comment. That is one. If you're done, let's see that. Executed. You see, it is going to point to undefined. It is going to point to undefined. This function got executed. This function got executed with respect to your global scope in this particular case. There is no object with respect to which it is going to be executed. So there is no object with respect to this function got executed. That is interesting thing. Now, let's take another example. If you add a okay, so if you add a, let me say obj2.print. Now you have an arrow function. At the time of creation, of this particular guy, this when it actually get created, at that time it will say with respect to which object I am getting child marriage, or I am going to bind it, right? So if you execute it now, you will see it is going to, this dot a is going to point to your a object in this particular obj2 object in this particular case. Now guys, in short, if you have to remember this small love story, so that's a love story that you have. Just a quick recap. I hope you love it. Please don't forget to comment, share with your friends before I jump into this. So you have a bewafa girlfriend. Depending on the strict mode or the non-strict mode, she behaves. In a strict mode, in a non-strict mode, she is actually going to point to either your BF, whom you are along with, or fall back to the crush. In a strict mode, she's going to point out to your BF, or she's not going to fall back to anyone. So she's always going to say undefined, undefined, undefined. That is what it is going to happen. In global scope, irrespective of your strict mode, non-strict mode, it is always going to be a global object. In window, it is, in browser, it is going to be the window object, which is perfectly fine. Now, call apply helps you to change the BF. You can change from you can say Kapoor to Singh, right? That is what basically can happen when you use call or apply in this particular case. Now again, parents are also worried about, so parents basically try to get you married so that you cannot change your BF. So once married, irrespective if you are with your BF or not, you are always going to point to your married person, whichever object you got binded to. That is awesome. Now similarly, when you are in a async callback kind of thing, whenever you get executed, you always get executed with respect to a global scope. That is what you have to understand. In that case, depending on your strict mode and non-strict mode, either it will be global object or it is going to be undefined. That is what you have to take care of. arrow function helps you to get the child marriage done. So once it is created, at the time of creation, you actually bind with the particular object. You bind with a particular object. In this case, object 2, with respect to 2, it was called, it got binded. Now this binding cannot be changed. It is same. It is like a marriage, but marriage at the time of creation instead of execution. That is what we did. I hope you love the story. You will remember this. Now go and crack any of your interview. Wherever you see this in your code or any references in the interview, just try to just rock it. And please let me know in comment if you love this particular story, so that I can come up with more interesting JavaScript concept, UI tech concept, React concept with such, you can say, analogies and whatnot. With that, see you in the next video. Please share it with everyone. Like, go comment. This will give me a positive vibe to spend more time in order to do some creativity, some innovation, make you feel in love with any of the technical concept and make it very easy for you guys. With that, see you in the next video. Thank you.